What a play after play after play.
And he's got a lot of room to run, and she is taking over.
Drones, that's just the greatest conference in the country is showing out tonight, gentlemen. I cannot believe it. That is the greatest football game.
Thank you for being with us on a Tuesday night from First Amendment Sports Studios here in Kensington, Maryland. I'm Ken Marangolo. He's Kevin Ricca.
It's always great to be down here. I love the new set. Appreciate it, Luke, Ken. Got a great show tonight. Can't wait to talk to Matt Swope, a WCAC man through and through.
Yep.
Can't wait to have this conversation, man.
Speaking of a WCAC man through and through, there he is. He's got a letter on his head. I don't know what that's all about. I'm sure we'll get to it at some point. He's Tim Strachan.
Good to see you guys. Nice Tuesday.
I like the shirt, by the way. It's a great shirt.
Hey,
you know what?
You picked it out.
So I'm exactly. You don't have to spell it out for everybody, but
This hat, I wore it specifically for tonight for our guest. It's I know we're in football season. We're all in big time football mode right now, but our guest is about baseball tonight. This is a DeMatha baseball that I look like a left tackle wearing a second baseman's hat. I don't know why baseball hats are smaller, but I had to wear it for my boy.
Father wearing his son's hat.
A carpenter never blames the tools. That's a noggin. That's a big old noggin, bud.
Yeah, we're gonna need extra hat is what that comes down to. We're on a run though here Tuesday night. We've had an awesome run of guests. I encourage you to check out our YouTube channel at First Amendment Sports. Please do us a favor and subscribe. It helps us out a ton. It's free. You get a notification every time we go live with shows just like this, and soon enough, live courtside, ringside, sidelines.
There you go.
It's all
Field
of
side.
it. When it happens, we'll be there. Without further ado, though, let's talk about who we got on tonight. Pride of DeMatha, class of '98, Matthew Swope. Welcome to the show. That's a great shirt.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's an honor to be here.
It's so obviously a baseball hat tee, and I'm gonna think nothing about things to say about that hat between now and the rest of the night, but I'll note them and we'll come back to them here and there.
Swope of my hat? What are you talking about?
That's kind of the old curve brim. It looks like you need a little bit more of a flat brim. And
That's an old school man right there, Matt. He's curving that brim for the next 50.
I've grown the beard just to take the attention off of everything else.
Okay, that's fair.
So, we've been making our way around both sides of the river, inside the city, outside the city. We're back to Hyattsville talking to, somebody who I got to tell you, Matt, a couple of things right at the top of the show. First of all, like so many of our guests, your name is synonymous with just huge smiles. Every time we've been talking about having you on, you've been someone we've, been promoting to be part of this show for a while. And man, the first thing people do is smile and they say, that guy's great. I can't wait to see him on your show. Can't wait to hear what he's up to. So it's a shot of goodness on a Tuesday night, especially, from a McNamara Mustang. I got to tell you, it's been real pleasure getting the reaction from folks when we tell them we're going to be talking to you.
Well, that's awesome, man. It just shows me that Venmo is working because everybody I'm paying out to say good things about me is obviously doing a good thing.
Well, Matt, I can interject on behalf of everybody that Ken's talking about that wasn't Venmo'd. I did a deep dive 2 weeks ago. I wish I could say it was a full-out research project for First Amendment Sports, but I gathered this information at the river course at Queenstown Harbor a week and a half ago. But I thought it was incredible. I think the best compliments you could ever get are compliments from your teammates. Hearing from your coaches and assistants and guys that you train with, that's one thing. But a compliment from your teammate is the best. And this man and I happened to marry two ladies who are first cousins. So we married into the same family. Joey Sargent, a freshman at DeMatha when you were a senior at DeMatha, also a freshman for the Maryland Terrapins your senior year for the Terps. And this guy told me that you were the guy to look up to. You were the guy to emulate. He said everything you did on and off the field in both programs, coaches told the youngsters to do. That's, to me, a true WCAC man, a guy to be looked up to. He said they even ate the chili cheese fries in the cafeteria at DeMatha with their fingers because of you. With their fingers, because Matt Swope did. So that's the word I got from your ex-teammate. Any words?
Oh, man, I'm laughing right now because honestly, you know what I'm thinking about is the amount of times I probably spilled that on my tie and then had to go to my next class. But that's definitely a story that gets it started for sure.
Also, just a quick note, Matt, if your mom, anyone in your entire family, I should say, I was actually saying this to my mom when I was just talking to her on the phone, because I had to send my mom a bunch of pictures. If anyone in your family needs pictures of you, please get a hold of T. He's got about 10,000 pictures of you, and it's amazing. I feel like people would be like, "Is that your brother? Are you related to this guy?" Because you have like a bunch of pictures in your basement of this guy, Matt Swope.
Well, I mean, admittedly, I probably sent him some. He did ask for a few, so the ones he probably got, I probably got from Mom. So we won't give him too much of a hard time. So.
Yeah. I got you. Well, so let's
John hooked us up with all the Matha stuff, man, and I know there's some guys in there that as you're looking at them, point out some of the guys that you played with back in the day, maybe listening, and who may catch up with you even today.
Yeah, these are all. This is probably 6 Division I players. Probably one of the most talented baseball teams ever to play at DeMatha. I think we were number 1 or number 2 in the post when we were done. Won 4 straight championships when I was at DeMatha. So, just an unbelievably talented group. Super close and shaped who I am today for sure.
Talk about your time at DeMatha in baseball. Why did you go to DeMatha? Why did you choose DeMatha? How'd you get there? Talk about your experience there.
Well, I grew up in New Carrollton, so I was about 10 or 15 minutes away from DeMatha. It was obviously the gold standard. I played basketball, football, baseball, hockey growing up, so it was just a matter of time, really. Was if you wanted to be the best, if you wanted to excel, that was the goal. That's where I was going. So ended up going there and playing basketball, football, and baseball my first couple years until I got more specialized later. But to me, it was just you had to bring it every day, whether it was academically or in sports. Just walking through that hallway, I remember in the new wing and seeing the trophies and pictures of guys like Tim and what Morgan did there and what Bill was able to do. You had to bring it. You couldn't be mediocre in anything, because if you were going to get passed by. So there's just something about those hallways, something about the incentive, something about just the whole aura that was really special to me, and something that I carry with me today for sure.
What was that?
And along the lines of what Kevin was talking about earlier, I actually tried to dig a little bit of dirt on you. I called a couple of your boys. I called Scott McBride. I called Steve Suter. Steve Suter's on my list. Rick will tell you what happens once you get on my list. It's tough to get off. Suter never got back. I think he got scared. Scott wouldn't talk any trash. The only story he told me was similar to Kevin. Is he said when Scott McBride transferred in, he said the first person he met, other than Brendan Looney, who we'll talk about in a minute because Brendan was the one that took him around on a shadow day, but his first day of school, he says, Matt Swope's the first guy I meet. We had a class together. He goes, I don't know if he knew who I was or why I was there or if I even played sports, but he told me what I needed to know about the history class we were having. He made sure that I knew what I was doing when I was leaving class, where I was going. The guy just kind of took me under his wing, and I'm so forever grateful for what he did. And then you guys spending time together in Maryland. This leadership sort of mantra keeps coming up with the people that we're talking to, Swope. And tell us a little bit about that. Was it at DeMatha you developed this type of leadership, this type of persona?
Yeah, well, first of all, with Scott, yeah, I remember that day specifically, actually, as Mr. King, who's the athletic director there now. Just saw a newer guy. I had no idea who he was, really. Didn't even know at that point until later on. Just tried to help him out. Always just wanted to be someone that, hey, if I was in those shoes, I would want someone to help me out like that. So it was more just doing the right thing, which I've always tried to do. And as far as the leadership goes, I definitely, I'm not going to lie, when I went into DeMatha, I didn't know what to expect, but it took time. It took time to develop the leadership. But I think, with the mentors and the coaches that were there, like I said, it's hard not to fall into that. And DeMatha is not a place for me. It's not a place for I, per se. It was always a place about team. And that was my favorite part, is actually playing basketball and football, because in basketball, I play with Joe Forte and Keith Bogans, and those guys were so much better than me, and I got a rude awakening. But every single day that I was able to go against them at practice, it made me a better baseball player. So that was the best part about all those things, and experiences I'll always cherish and look back on for sure.
So, and I think we'll dip back into the DeMatha days, but I want to touch a little bit, because you were on that great team at DeMatha. You were part of a great team with a lot of talent. You go to a D1 program up the street, and so I would be interested in hearing from you what the transition was like, because there's a lot of big time players in the WCAC that are heading off to major programs, and in some cases they will be one of the best players on the team that they go to still, at the next level. But there's other stuff that goes along with that when you get onto that D1 field. And so I was asking you a little bit about the transition from, even from a big time high school program, but making your way to College Park.
Well, I think some of those things, honestly, it was, I was more prepared for college. That, I thought college at times were easier than high school. I know that sounds crazy, but DeMatha was so regimented and playing 3 sports. Time management was all you had. And the demand for all that stuff academically and athletically, I was more prepared for college than anything academically. So I think that allowed me to excel on the field. I came into a program at Maryland where they had some older guys. I probably wasn't expected to contribute early, but I just, never took no for an answer, and ended up starting my freshman year and having a good career. I think a lot of times it's the little things that end up getting in the way of college athletes, whether it's time management or pressure or a bunch of other things. But just to be honest, the WCAC is one of the best conferences in the country. Facing that pressure every day, playing Gonzaga in a gym, or being in a situation like, until people they actually go to a game, we've been dealing with that pressure. So that was something that was second nature to me going to college. It's a funny story. I even brought 4 or 5 of my players this year to go down to the DeMatha Gonzaga game in basketball, just so they could see the atmosphere, and it was amazing. So I think that's kudos to the conference preparing me mentally for that. And, when I got there, it was just lucky enough to be put in a position to get an opportunity to play early.
Well, here's the deal. I like my pilots to have some gray hair, Matt. I like my crab cakes made by my mother. And I like my hitting coach at the school that I've gone to have a slash line of 368 average, 55 RBIs, 64 runs scored, and 31 extra base hits. Now, as a coach, I know that means a lot to certain kids. I responded to coaches like that. Not that other coaches couldn't get the job done, but now you're the hitting coach for the entire program. Would you talk a little bit about how you weigh those balances? Because, you're a guy that did it at the highest level. I mean, Matt, you're in 7 statistical categories in the top 10 in the history of the program. I want you to talk to me a little bit about the last guy through the top guy and how you deal with that.
Yeah, well, I think first of all, being a coach is some of the best players aren't good coaches, because, maybe they were good and they just expect them to be able to catch on earlier. So for me, it was really, when I first got back into coaching about 10 years ago, I had to take a step back and say, hey, maybe this kid doesn't learn this way. Maybe he doesn't grasp it the way I do. So everybody needs different feels, cues, like you're showing the picture of right now. Some guys need their arm around them. Some guys need a kick in the ass. So for me, I had to step back first in order to kind of understand what are the best ways to reach each individual guy. And I think good coaches do that. So I take a lot of pride in that. I will say, though, it does help a little bit with these days, because with social media, and the type of kid that we're dealing with, they want to know that you came from a similar background or that you can do it. So I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes, if they're complaining about something or they're doing something, I'll say, give me the bat, and I go in there and say, see if it's a mentality thing or tough it out. So definitely being in there every day and working out a lot with the guys and them seeing the dedication and the hard work I have definitely probably helps the relatability with today's player, which is a big part of coaching. When I was at DeMatha, we were always looking up to coaches. There wasn't social media. There wasn't relatability. It was kind of like whatever this person said was gold. So, nowadays everything's scrutinized. So that's kind of the way that we have to go about it today as coaches.
What's that, T?
I said it was respect back in the day. It was just respect, but now, like you said today, there's different ways of doing it. And we can see the passion you have in coaching. What was the decision to get into coaching? I know there was a little bit of you wanted getting into maybe some media. You had a show at one point, but then you got back into coaching. Talk about that transition from playing to coaching then.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've always been super passionate about sports radio. I mean, if I'm in the car, I'm listening to, 980 or The Fan or something. I mean, it's always been a super passion of mine since I was young. I've read the Post every day. I've read Wilbon, Kornheiser, those guys growing up. So for me, I've always been well versed on all sports. I can have a conversation about anything because I'm the most severe homer alive. So I'm obsessed with the Redskins, the Washington football team. Sorry. The Caps, I'm an Oriole fan, so I didn't totally make the transition. So, I just grew up, being a fan of everything. And Steve Suter and I tried to kind of start a podcast and, got on ESPN radio in Baltimore at one point, and I had so much fun with that. And if I had the opportunity, I probably would have kept doing that as well. But I really was getting to the point where I was just wanting to get back in the game. I ended my professional career on a bad note. Got my 2 shoulder surgeries from Dr. Andrews. So I always felt like that itch to get back in there, and the corporate world just wasn't for me. So I was blessed enough to be able to come back in 2012 to Maryland. And honestly, this is a lifestyle for me. It's not even a job. So there's been a lot of other opportunities, but everything I do, walks and talks, whether it's DeMatha or PG County or Maryland. So just blessed to be able to come back to my alma mater and a place where my mom and dad went as well.
That's awesome. My dad. I was gonna say my dad went to Maryland also, and I like my crab cakes made by my grandmother, Kevin. Just as long as
just got to be in house.
That's fine. That's fair enough. I guess I just want to touch on that the coaching in the modern day aspect, because it's some days just thinking about it, it's like my nightmare of dealing with what, and again, it's stereotypes, right? I don't know. I'm not there. I'm not doing what you do. I also didn't have the slash line that Kevin just quoted, so I don't have respect as a ex-player or a current coach. But it just seems like a lot harder. As a player, as a kid, and through high school, I was just expected to shut up, do whatever the coach said, no matter what, and never complain. And that doesn't sound like the way it goes these days. So talk a little bit about, there's some eggshells it seems like you got to walk on sometimes.
Yeah, I think for me, honestly, my approach, I always try to be authentic. I'm going to be who I am. I'm going to wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm going to be super passionate and aggressive. Whether it's, again, like all the things I talked about, it's who I am. I can't try to be someone else. I'm not going to try to be the other coaches or other people. So authenticity, I think if you're authentic and people know that and you care about them, that's going to win out. So with my guys that we're recruiting, I'm always trying to be authentic, straightforward, whether that's with coaches that I'm interacting with as well, always going to be straightforward. So I'm not that person in this recruiting world, even though it's you have to be relatable to the kids. I'm not someone who's just going to sell Maryland. I'm not just someone who's going to sell DeMatha. I want to know about them. I want to know about what makes them tick, about what type of person they are. And if you genuinely care, a lot of times that'll win out. Sometimes it won't, but the times that it doesn't win out, maybe it wasn't a good fit because they were looking for just uniforms or facilities, or to put something on Twitter. So we recruit. We do things differently, man. I give my kids homework assignments. They're not hard, but just to see, like, are they engaged? What are their answers going to be? What kind of conversation is it going to lead to? So even with the social and racial injustice that was going on the past couple months, every one of our black recruits I got on the phone within a couple days, and had that tough conversation. We've done that with our team as well. So I think if you're authentic and you care about people, most times things will be okay and you'll win out.
Well, Matt Swope, authenticity seems to be the name of the game, especially as the recruiting coordinator here for the Terps, Ken. Matt brought in the top-ranked class in the history of the university in 2020, number 7 ranked recruiting class in the country. So I think that approach tends to work for you, my friend.
Yeah. I mean, we're killing it. We're killing it right now, man. I mean, we lost a first rounder again this year in the draft, and we've lost a couple guys the past couple years, but we got the majority of the kids in. Had a little bit of a lull after some of the best years in the history of the program. 1 game away from Omaha. So we're knocking on the door. So we're right there. And, like I said, it's just every day, just couldn't be more proud and blessed compared to when I was there. We had 5 scholarships. So, we weren't really able to be competitive in the ACC. Always had really good position players, but didn't quite always have the money for the pitchers. So we're there now. Knocking on the door, and this is going to be an exciting year. Hopefully we can do something with COVID and get ready to play this season. We were 10-5 last year when it got canceled. So this year we got a lot of hype, a lot of expectation, and should be one of the best offenses in the entire country.
I got to ask real quick. I know T's got something for you, but I've been a big fan of the Terps. The last 2 years I've coached baseball with Martin Bednar, Randy's big brother, and at the Woods Academy, where my wife works, and his father, one of the best religion teachers in the state of Maryland. Very lucky to have both those guys as teachers and coaches at the Woods. But he's been out there on the third baseline during games with a little in his ear. He's got the headset, listening to his brother playing on the road. You guys. It's been really fun to watch, and I just want you to talk about him a little bit. I believe you recruited Randy, and I know you've developed him, and it's really important based on what we're talking about right now. He just got awarded the esteemed number 3, and I want you to talk a little bit about that. I know they didn't have the tradition when you were there, but you were definitely a number 3 kind of guy.
I think it's something that, Randy is just such a great kid. I mean, he's always been a great kid, and he was a kid that got drafted out of high school, had a ton of success, and really had to go through a little bit of failure, which a lot of freshmen do. Had a little bit of a rough time and didn't quite understand what was going on. And I know his father and where he comes from, sometimes, working harder isn't always the answer. So I think he just learned a lot throughout that freshman year, and really has been one of our best players the past couple years, and lucky enough to, he turned down some money in the draft this year to come back. So he'll be one of the best players in the conference, one of the best players in the country. So we started giving number 3 to our more just like our guy that has some toughness, some ownership, a guy that, I hate to say leads by example, but just encompasses everything that you would want out of a program. And Randy, I can't say enough about him and how far he's come along and how great of a kid he is. So, he earned that, and we don't just give it out. So you have to earn it. So number 3 is kind of our standard for the kid to wear it. And, he's going to be poised to hopefully hit 15 to 20 home runs this year, be a top 5 rounder, and hopefully see him on TV here in a few years.
Man, well, I'll be listening.
That would be great.
Hey, Matt, I think this is a great point. Before we get back to talking a little bit about the WCAC and some of the kids you played with, against, coached with, against, I want to ask you one question real quick, because I think some of the things you've been talking about here recently, I think it's important for people to know that where there's success, it wasn't always easy. And you talk about, challenges people may have. You, my friend, have had some challenges yourself. And I know that you've had a battle with cancer, and you have taken yet a different road and worn another hat in terms of raising funds for cancer awareness. Can you just talk about that part of the journey that you've been on and how it's helped you get to where you are today?
Yeah, well, I mean, I really started at DeMatha. So I was 15 years old. My brother died. He just graduated from DeMatha. So that was something I went through with the DeMatha family. Just the support I had from teachers and coaches and all that. So, that happened in 1995, and Jimmy was a hockey player there and just graduated. So it kind of started then with some tragedy, and then having my sister pass when I was 28. She was in her 30s of a rare blood cancer, and then now my mom has the same cancer. So for me, it's always been about what can I do? So we partnered up with the Kids versus Cancer organization. So most of the stuff I do now is pushed towards the kids, because I just think that it's something that's near and dear to my heart, and just such a great cause. So I've worked with Leukemia and Lymphoma Society on some stuff as well, but those types of things, it's easy to get down. It's easy to say, why me? And Tim, more that than anybody. But at some point, how can I use this to help other people? And I think that we've done a great job of that. I've raised over $200,000 over the course of time doing that with these fundraisers and organizations. So I'm just hoping to we're making some progress with certain things, and it helps with the prescriptions for some of the kids and families and stuff like that. So it's been a blessing. And honestly, the most fun I have is getting my guys involved and getting them to understand that, hey, athletes, what makes us good is we're one track minded. It may frustrate people sometimes with social media and all that, but athletes are one, even for a couple minutes. Even for a couple hours, is important, and given that perspective, and that's part of the kind of the reason why I like to coach, because I can get to use baseball and teach life lessons as well.
Well, it's also a part of your personal. It's also a part of your personal story with your wife. It's how it's a way that you met your wife, and your family has grown as well. Yeah,
I mean, her husband passed away at 33, and I knew her about 15 years ago, and we kind of met up through just a random fundraiser in cancer, and started seeing each other, and that's been great as well. We're actually doing a brain cancer golf tournament on Thursday in Southern Maryland for her husband, and something that it just never stops. So we're always trying to find ways to raise awareness and do things. I mean, all of us are touched by cancer in some way or another. So. I mean, even on the most personal, that's going on right now as well. So,
Matt, it's ravaged my family in the last 10 years, and I just want to say thank you. It's awesome having someone like you on the front lines fighting back and doing something about it. That's damn impressive.
Well, we couldn't do it without you guys. Couldn't do it without the support. We did a blood drive even with Coach Tillman on the lacrosse team. Did our first one at DeMatha a couple months ago, and it was something that was like, hey, we can't do much fundraising, but what can we do right now? And hospitals are short on blood. So you guys can see here, DeMatha was gracious enough to let us use the parking lot there. And then we just did our second one in Annapolis not too long ago. So I think we're just always trying to find ways to do what we can. So I wouldn't be able to do it without you guys and the support. So thank you.
What course are you guys playing out on Thursday, Matt?
It's at Swan Point. So Swan Point's in Southern Maryland.
Yep.
Did it at South River last year. Just try to spread it around again. Do it at different places. Bringing awareness, trying to bring different people involved. My goal always is like, hey, if I can touch one or two people that haven't been involved before, that's good enough. Okay, because that's kind of how the word gets out. A kind of a cause that we can all support. So it's not necessarily always about the masses, but making small steps to try to help others.
Without a doubt, that's great. Those are, and that's a good spot to pull out. Oh, you say Southern Maryland means a lot of things to a lot of people. I saw that AAMC on that van, even though the blood drive bus, even though they painted it DeMatha colors, and Anne Arundel, those are some good peeps down there in Anne Arundel, Calvert County. I see that smile on T's face because he knows. And guess what? Guess where those kids go? They go to DeMatha and McNamara. They make the drive up to Gonzaga, busting into St. John's, Carroll, good counsel. So, anyone who's got their ears on, and anyone, do we have a link or a page we can throw up there? Put some awareness out there. Check out Matt Swope's page. You get all the information that you need to be a part of his fight. And join in whatever way you can, support. It's amazing work. And, I mean, shoot, just how can you argue it's not making a difference? CureTheKids.org. And there's a /fundraiser. Check it out. Get on there. All of our First Amendment sports folks, we encourage you to join that battle. Let's just circle back, I guess, a little bit to your roots, Matt, at DeMatha, and talk maybe a little bit about the game that was in the 90s. You know, we always kind of talk about what was going on then, what's going on now. There was some good ball being played back in the 90s in the WCAC on the baseball diamond. I know that for a fact. And I know mainly because I know how good you guys were. But what are the main differences you notice when you think back to the way you guys did it back in the mid 90s to kind of what's happening now and the state of the program?
Well, you know, I could just tell you, I mean, from all sports, you know, I mean, I know it ends up being where I played baseball and it ended up being my best sport, but I learned just as much from playing football and basketball at DeMatha. And I can't tell you the battles that went on back then with the WCAC. It was just some of the best memories and most exciting times in my life, stuff that I'll never forget even today. So the climate was way different. It was, I think then, like you said, there was more about, there was no social media. It was more about the team chemistry, the name on the front of your shirt. And it was honestly, I hated Gonzaga. I mean, St. John's was our hated rival for baseball. Like, sadly to say, McNamara wasn't much a factor back then.
No, they weren't. They weren't.
But you know,
but a big playoff series with DeMatha that went to the last of it this past season, Matt.
Yeah. I mean, I got to give a lot of kudos to Coach Prang, who kind of got McNamora's baseball program off the ground. You know, about 5, 7, 8 years ago. And we've had a couple good players, but Coach Prang coached at DeMatha for over 20 years. So,
Yep.
Again, the climate back then, I think what I liked about it then was high school was everything. There was Legion ball, there was summer ball, but I lived and died with everything to do with DeMatha. You know, the game of the week, who were you playing this week? The rivalry was, the basketball championship down at Catholic. Like, can I get a ride? Can I hop in with this person? It was everything. And what I don't like about it today is, even in the recruiting process, I talk to some kids and they literally say, "Oh, I don't play for my high school." And I'm just shocked by that. And if they don't play for the high school, I won't recruit them. Just because I think it's something that if you are only going to worry about training and playing for a summer team, you're missing out on what I really need from you. And there's just something about, where you go to school, the pride you take in that organization is a big part of it for me. So I don't really relate with the AAU, the summer stuff. I'm not saying it's not necessary. I'm not saying it's a good avenue to publicize the kids. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that simply I miss the rivalry and kind of like what was at stake with the high school kind of games back then, for sure.
First of all, I love that. We talk about that exact sentiment, but to have a college coach and recruiter basically say, you don't have what I need if you don't care about your school, which first of all makes a ton of sense. If you're gonna go play for a school in college, that's a building block. You got to care about your school.
A little loyalty. A little loyalty would be nice.
A little loyalty. That's all. I mean, come on. So I love it. I think that's great, Matt.
Well, listen, like, just think about it. I mean, if someone's not going to take pride in that, it's going to be about something else. It's going to be about the draft. It's going to be about playing in the Cape Cod League. It's always going to be about something else. And, I talk about being present all the time. If you're transactional when it comes to that, that you're going to have problems down the road. So I think a lot of times, that kind of stuff is common sense, and you're looking at the competitiveness and kind of their heart for sure.
Man, we just
Hey,
need to
Matt, can
listen
you
to
talk
this and
about
learn.
some of the players? Yes. Can you talk about some of the players you played with, and maybe also players you played against that we might have heard of or know about, and not just at the MAFA and in the WCAC, but WCAC guys at the next level, Division I, and so on. And one name I want to throw out there first, because I know it's near and dear to both of us, is you were very close with Lieutenant Brendan Looney. God rest his soul. But I just wanted to kick it off with that.
Yeah, Brennan was a special dude to me. I think sometimes, I've gone through deaths in my life, some personal ones. And when someone passes, not to say that it's not a time to reflect or praise, but when I tell you about Brendan Looney, he was one of the best people I ever met. I was a senior in high school. He was a sophomore on the baseball team. He was actually on that team that was one of the best ever to play at DeMatha, was the starting shortstop. People don't even know he played baseball. He switched to lacrosse after that. But when I tell people the story of, and he was just one of the best people I've ever met. And you can see there the picture. I go every year for the wreath laying with Coach Tillman, who coached him at the lacrosse team at Navy, who's the current head coach at Maryland now. So just to start off with him, near and dear to my heart. I carry a bracelet around with him all the time. Someone I'll never forget. Someone that truly was one of the best people you'll ever meet. And anybody will tell you that. But also his family, just knowing his mom and how long she worked at DeMatha and her passing as well, and still having a relationship with Dad and the brothers and sisters that are still kind of all involved in some way or another for golf tournaments or the wreaths and stuff like that. So, just to start off with them. But honestly, there's so many. I could go for each sport. You're talking about Brian Westbrook, Scott McBrien, Tony Oconawan, the Darryl Greens in basketball, the Keith Bogans, the Joe Fortes. In baseball, it was, Jason Baker, who played with me at a high level. Jamie Moylan, who was probably one of the best high school players I've ever seen. So all these guys were just, and that's just guys that I played with, not to mention guys that we were playing versus of like a Jabron Hamden at O'Connell, who ended up being a quarterback for the Redskins, or guys that, were at St. John's that I ended up playing with in college, like a Steve Ausler, who ended up being my roommate, and a lot of good players that have come out of there. So I really could probably go back to my yearbook and go year by year and just be blown away, because when you're talking about the excellence that came out of those hallways, it's second to none. But the conference, I'll argue to the day I'm done, is that WCAC is the best conference in the country. I mean, it's probably one of the only conferences that you could take a basketball, football, or baseball team, and we're not even talking about the band or track or other sports or soccer, that you could literally go play any conference, any place in the country and win. So you'll have pockets of conferences or pockets of schools that are good, but when we're talking about this conference as a whole, we bring it every week and we bring it every year, and it's been like that since going back way before Tim or our time, for sure.
Those are the facts. We're waiting on T. It's on a bit of a delay. We're waiting to the tip of his tongue.
Oh, you're waiting for me.
You just look eager.
You look you had
talking
something.
about it. How about the respect? How about the respect? We know that in football, we talked to guys about football, and also in basketball. We were talking to Markel Fultz a couple weeks ago that when there's other guys from the league, not just necessarily from one school or the other, it's from all the schools. There's a respect nationally at that level. What is the respect for WCAC football at the Division I level, or even in the big leagues and in the minor leagues?
Well, I can tell you for me personally, it's, being at Maryland, right? It's like it's two sides. So I have to be careful because, every single time that we don't get a football recruit or a basketball recruit, I want everybody, right? Like I'm a homer. So, even baseball, we've lost 3 Division I players the past couple of years that have chosen to go other places that we offered first. And that's painful to me. It hurts. So, for me, especially just being in Maryland, I'm like, you can think about just the talent that's coming out of there football-wise and basketball-wise and even baseball. I want them all. So the respect is definitely there. And the last thing you ever want to do for someone like me that works at college that's in state is lose guys to Alabama or to Indiana or LSU or anywhere else. So I think Locks is doing a good job. He has. I mean, even Durkin, he did a good job kind of turning that tide a little bit, getting some of those guys in there. And obviously Locks is an amazing recruiter, has a huge track record for recruiting, just needs to come to fruition on the field. And I think a lot of times it starts with quarterback play. We just haven't quite had that going all the way back to Sean Hill and Scotty McBride and guys like that. So the college game starts with the QB, and hopefully that, they can start to see that on the field. And as you guys saw with Mark, with basketball, or Mark, winning the regular season last year, basketball's been there, but I would love to just see some of the few more local guys, from the WCAC stay home. And I know it's tough. And obviously as a baseball staff, we're always going to try to keep the best players in state for sure.
Well, I know I speak for everyone here in the basement tonight when I say that there's a whole lot of respect from our direction towards you, Matt. You certainly class up our show, and it's our pleasure to have you on a Tuesday night. Hope it's the first time of multiple appearances, and as these games come back, and as we find ourselves back and watching the greatest conference in the land play games of all kinds. Would love to have you to the booth and chat with you about not just what we're seeing on the field, but how it tracks with what you're up to, what you're used to, and then certainly to keep us posted on any way possible that we can help you raise awareness and help you in any way that we can for the cure for the kids. It's amazing stuff, and our hats are off to you. I know that I know that it's not. I always, when we get to this part of the year, it's like everyone's busy, because it's September and school and sports, and I keep having to remind myself it's not that busy. It's just not. But I really appreciate the manner in which you deliver a message that has to be delivered, and not to summarize everything that you said, but to underline a few key things. Being present, having a little bit of loyalty and understanding what not being transactional. I think if I could repeat anything that you said, stressing to kids that life's not a transactional event. It's just so huge, and you just basically like hit like 10 nerves with me when you were talking about that, Matt. So thank you so much for that. Please come back. Can we start with that?
Man, you didn't even get into my Washington football team. So anytime you want to talk about anything, man, this is I genuinely love this. Excited for Chase Young, excited for my guys, man. So honored to be here. Anytime I can help you guys out, anytime I can fill in to kind of just shoot the breeze about local sports, man. It's an honor to be here, and I can't thank you guys enough for having me on. Thank you.
Awesome, Matt.
Swope, man.
Until next Tuesday night, there on the bottom corner of your screen, that's Tim Strachan.
Later, guys. We're coming back with a little bit of Red Sox talk. But it was great to have Swope on, man.
We're going to give him a bigger hat.
Swope.
We're going to get him a bigger hat. I promise you. We're going to find one.
I'm gonna switch hat for the next show. My head feels like it's about to explode.
Yeah, no, that's the hat that's about to explode. But that's okay.
Something's going to explode.
He's Kevin Ricca.
Hey, that was awesome. I've always been taught, don't grumble about something, do something about it. And it's awesome to hear Matt Swope out on the front lines fighting back against the C word, F cancer. We all feel the same way. And it's awesome to see him doing that. Total respect for him. Thank you, Matt Swope. And thanks for showing us the best basement we've had in this basement with coverage of another basement. It's top notch. Top notch guest tonight. Matt Swope's all class, and we appreciate you.
He's basementing at an extremely high level, and that's what we appreciate the most. Thank you to Luke David, Victor Maddox, our guest Matt Swope. Once again, on behalf of First Amendment Sports, I'm Ken Marangolo. This was the WCAC Spectacular. See you next week.